Become a member of the National At-Home Dad Network, an organization focused on providing advocacy, community, education, and support. Connecting with households where dad is the primary caregiver of the children. We do this through our webinar and podcast series, mental health support groups, regular online social events, as well as our annual convention. The National At-Home Dad Network is a 100% volunteer organization. Without the generous support of its members and the community around it, we would not be able to continue the work that we do. Becoming a member gives you access to past convention speaker presentations, the ability to vote for board members annually, and ensures that the organization's fees and bills are in positive standing. Oh yeah, it should not go unmentioned that there is some cool swag headed your way if you decide to become a member. For only $35 a year, your membership provides you with the exclusive content only we can generate, and you'll be supporting an organization that benefits families all around the country and world. By advocating for them, offering them community, providing education and guidance, and supporting them to grow in their parenthood journey. And one last thing, if you contribute $500 or more, you will become a lifetime member. Not only will you receive everything already mentioned, but also a certificate recognizing your status and an exclusive National At-Home Dad Network challenge coin with our trademark logo, Dads Don't Babysit. So, what are you waiting for? Become a member today. Welcome to Home Dad Chat, brought to you by the National At-Home Dad Network. My name is Brock.
My name is Danny.
And we are here to talk about life as stay-at-home dads. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
No, I don't want much. I even love handmade crafts made of macaroni. Come on now, you should know me. Times I might eat too much. No worry about my weight. Got the dad bod rocking on me. Sketches on my feet. Cargo shorts look good on me. I'm a dad, that's what I do.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the show. It's another wonderful week here in the land of being a stay-at-home dad / for some of those out there like myself, working dads who are also juggling being a primary caregiver. Yeehaw! How you doing, Danny?
I'm good. It's been a long week already. It's only Tuesday.
Yeah, right. I feel that every bit of that. Yeah. Between juggling the kids and juggling a new job, it has been an adventure these past few weeks. Oh man,
it's a really good thing when your kids get into school and you get promoted into management, and suddenly you have 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours to yourself. You know. And then after maybe a month, you just start feeling this ennui, and you're like, okay, I got to do something. I got to fill up that time. And, you know, getting a job is completely different. Sometimes you may need a job to keep yourself from going crazy at home, but realistically, jobs come down to money more than anything else. And I get going back to work, but it's that need to fill up that time that really has been sticking in my head over the last week or so, because there's just been a lot of time where I really don't want to be alone with my thoughts. And the kids are doing their thing and they don't need me because they're at school or they're, you know, and even when they're home, they're all old enough now that I could just not be here. Technically, I could be working, I could be whatever, and, you know, or going to school, which is what I'm hoping to do. And it's really an interesting feeling, because I talk to a lot of the guys, especially guys with young kids, and like under 2, or people that have 2 under 2, which is just right. It's just like, why did we do this? Why didn't we wait? Why didn't we just get past 3?
Bless you, sir, for that.
And the sleep deprivation and just everything that you go through with your new baby. Right.
Does that really ever stop the sleep? I feel like I'm still sleep deprived. And my kids, you know, my oldest is getting ready to turn 10.
That's I don't know. I have good nights though. I have nights where I sleep for 8 hours easy, you know, and just I still don't wake up like happy and refreshed, but that's fine. That only happens in video games and movies. That's not really a thing that happens to wake up refreshed.
The one joy from today was I woke up to a 2-hour snow delay. That was, I was like, I'm not getting out of bed. And like the kids were getting around, getting cereal and breakfast and whatever. And I'm like, I'm not even going to tell them. Like, just let them do their thing for right now.
Right. Yeah. Let them get their routine and do their stuff. Why interrupt it?
Yeah. So I
You know,
just laid there
there's
in
more
bed.
work for you. I mean, realistically.
Yeah,
See, now
right.
it's like, no, you just take your shoes back off and wait 2 hours. That's fine.
Exactly.
We know where
Yeah.
your book bag is, your lunch is good or whatever. You get your clothes on. We don't have to fight 2 hours from now when you've gotten relaxed and lazy and back in,
Oh,
"Oh,
yeah.
I've been on the couch for an hour. I don't want to go to school now." No, not having that fight. That's
It
wise of
was
you,
great.
sir.
It was
Very
great. I mean,
wise.
they did all their stuff, got lunch, got their lunches around and everything. And then they were like, "We're ready to go." And I'm like, "Actually, you guys have a 2-hour delay." And they're like, "What?" And so I was like, "Sit down, like
Enjoy.
let's watch some Looney Tunes," because that was
Hmm.
on, and then watch some Mountain Men, and then it was time to go to school. So it was perfect.
It's wonderful.
And then off to work I went to the crazy land of brewery life. So
Hmm.
um but yeah, so yeah, it's all good. I think the thing for me, and the thing that I would probably pass on to anybody who is looking at going back into the workforce, is definitely lots of grace, lots of flexibility, and lots of communication. Because especially with the fact that, Corey, a lot of times she's working here from home, but then she also does have to go into the office. And it's like, if I've got to walk a client through the brewery and like talk to them about rental spaces and stuff like that for parties, I've got to check all these calendars and make sure that, like, okay, like where is she going to be at? And like, and getting a hold of her
Hmm.
and saying things like, "Hey, I need to know, can you go get the kid? Can you pick up the kids? Is that
Right.
possible? Or am I going to have to reschedule the, like whatever that is?" And so there's a lot of jockeying around, but it works out, but it does take a lot of extra effort, and it can be very tiring.
Hmm. It keeps coming back to me in my head when we had Dr. Kate Mangino on, and about gender equity and the book that she wrote and all that. And one of the things that she brought up was cognitive labor, right?
Mm,
The part of being an at-home parent that doesn't involve chores.
yeah.
We're not talking about cleaning or laundry or even making meals, but it's the scheduling and it's the meeting of deadlines and it's getting them organized to say, okay, well, no, um, Bobby can't play soccer on Tuesdays and Thursdays because Billy's already got baseball on those days or whatever, and he's
Yeah.
just juggling all of that stuff. And even with just one child, you can easily get overwhelmed by the amount of things that your kid wants to get into, especially when they're young.
Oh, definitely.
And that cognitive labor, I think, is one of the most impressive parts about an at-home parent, where you are, whether you're good at multitasking or not, whether you're really good at scheduling or not, you learn, maybe trial by fire, right?
Yeah.
But you learn, this is how I have to schedule. This is what I have to do. And sure, you're late for things, you miss things, you have to cancel things, reschedule, all that all happens. But it's that ability that skill, more than ability, that you pick up and learn and refine so that you can. It's not easy, but you really get to the point where you can go, oh yeah, well, I know, yeah, Marnie's going to be out of town on this day. I know I got this and this, and you just look at it, and it can be irritating. It can be a pain. It can be, impossible to get something done, but you just get that skill honed more and more and more
Yeah.
until you're really just good at it. You just do it naturally.
Well,
And
a shared calendar really helps too.
yes, yes,
That is
yeah.
key. I would not be able to survive if it was not for the
Hmm.
shared Google
Right.
Calendar.
And if you're, as in your case and mine, if your partner works in an office environment, they have a calendar.
Oh
They
yeah.
have a calendar they're running on all the time. And of course, you don't want to be on their business calendar, of course, but you just tell them, because it took Marnie let's say a little bit of time before she would look at the family calendar and go, oh yeah, okay, yeah, oh, we got this thing. And I'm like, yep, that's why we set it up. That's why you're on it. That's why it gives you a reminder whenever I put it for the family stuff, because you're so busy with your job and everything that you do, being able to shift gears and look at what the family needs and trying to mesh those two things is really something that's not in her wheelhouse, really.
Yeah.
She can, but it's not natural for her because that's not her calendar.
Well, also
that's
too, like
mine.
also too is the like they, the working spouse has in mind, like, these are the things that I have going on for work and this is what I'm doing, and it's on their work calendar, and you're like, hey, like, it would just be nice to know, like, when you're going to be going into the office. Like, for instance, Corey picks 1 week out of the month and that she's in the office every single day of that week. Well, I was like, I need to know when that is, because that changes everything for our dynamic. And so basically I was like, you got to get this in the calendar. So she started putting it in the calendar, which helps because then I'm not surprised by like the week of or the day of. And it's like, hey, like, this is my week in the office. And you're like, oh my God. Like,
wait,
what?
Going
on.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I had planned all these things.
Yeah, exactly. So that's been beneficial to have that. And I feel like what we're talking about too really kind of falls in line with what hit the what do you call that, the media airwaves recently, with the congressmen who were bringing their kids strapped to them, baby wearing, into the was it their house, was it the House of Representatives? Is that what it was? Or the congressman? I can't remember.
The congressman.
Okay, sorry.
Yep.
Political jargon is not my strong suit.
Yeah, I think that's fine. And they were bringing, and it's okay to bring, from what I understand, you can bring your kids. That's a thing. But this was specifically before the voting and the voting again. Oh, and who's going to be House Speaker? Well, we have to vote again, and we have to vote again, and it's never gone that long. And you just don't have. It's like if your job suddenly, we need you tomorrow too. Oh, and tomorrow too. Okay, look, you need me another day. I've got to bring my kid with me. I can't leave everything. I have a family. I've got to take care of my family, and that's what Representative Gomez did. And he's the one that everybody sees the picture of with him wearing his baby on the House floor.
Yeah. I honestly, like, it was such a peek behind the curtain on, for the fact of what these politicians have as far as family life goes and what they juggle. Because, I mean, if you think about it, how many people ever thought that, oh yeah, like they would have any kind of like actual, parental thing, like, oh no, like they're at home with the other spouse or whatever. It's like that other spouse is probably working too, more than likely, and in this situation, it really shined the light on the fact that it was like these working dads had to figure out how to balance it, and the only way to balance it was, hey, like, you're coming to work with me, kid.
Yeah, it's just what you had to do. And they've had children, you could bring your kids in to the House floor. I mean, I don't think it was like every single day or anything, but they were definitely recognized that we have to take care of our kids. But it was the female congressmen that were bringing their kids. And that's great. This is what women have been doing for decades, if not, easily. I don't know if they were allowed to work centuries ago, but they were given that responsibility and that the caring of the child and the cognitive labor, again, of all the things that children need. And okay, so that, and now I'm working outside the home, which you're getting a taste of right now. Oh, I got to do this, and I've got to keep doing the stuff I was doing, so I've got even more balls in the air to juggle, right?
Well, by the way, real quick, if you're thinking about it, a century ago would have only been 1923, which means that World War I would have, I believe, ended. And so very possible that there were children going to work with mothers who were actually making money because their spouses were injured veterans and whatnot, and that was the only way. So that's a very possible probability.
Yeah. And the funny thing is, and Representative Gomez actually said this, the fact of it is that women have been doing this for a very long time.
Yeah.
And now a man does it. And well, then hang on. We have
Oh,
to
yeah.
change things now.
You
The,
get the
things
super-
have to change.
Yeah. And they
Right?
get looked at as like super dad too. And he's like, I'm
Mhm.
not a super dad.
Yeah, he said the same thing I think a lot of us have said.
Yeah.
I don't need praise for doing that. I'm just doing what women have been doing for years and years and years, but I'm just taking care of my kids. It's not, I'm not super dad. I'm not doing anything awesome and amazing. I'm just doing what needs to be done.
Right.
And for whatever reason it is, I'm doing this part, which is a non-standard gender role. Oh, well, get used to it. It's the new standard is you do whoever does the job or whatever. It's fine either way. But
yeah. Sorry.
Well,
Was just, I'm just kind of like reading through this article as I'm listening to you at the same time. Like the statement that, or like the quote that he made that based on what you're talking about with like the super dad thing, he's like, why am I a father getting praised for doing what mothers do every single day, which is care for their children? And he explained that the caucus that they have just started up, basically, which we didn't really say the name of it. It's the Congressional Dads Caucus, which I think is just really neat that they're doing this.
great name.
But he explains that the caucus, it's rooted in a simple idea. Dads need to do our part, advancing policies that will make a difference in the lives of so many parents across the country. We're fighting for a national paid family and medical leave program, affordable and high quality childcare, and the expanded child tax credit that cut child poverty by nearly half. And this is how we set an equitable path forward for the next generation and build a brighter future for our children.
Mm-hmm.
Love it. I mean, what a statement. And I think that it's so like COVID, for one, shined a huge light on this. And then for them to basically pick it up and just, make it even brighter, shining it out there that this is, something that needs to be talked about more. And also too, they're working with the already existing caucus of mothers. So it's not just a mom versus dad thing or anything like that. Like, as he stated, like it's a parent thing.
Right.
And so, but it's just like the dads now are like, hey, like we also have a place at the table, and mom and dad have a place at the table, and we need to be fighting for better things. The thing that's interesting in all of this is that currently, well, one, it was, I guess, like it was kind of brought up by the Republican side at one time, as if what I've read correctly in the article, but then like it didn't go anywhere. And so like it's all Democratic politicians currently who are kind of running with it, but it's open like to basically be, is it called bipartisanship? I don't know if that's the right word.
If it's bipartisan, it means it's both parties.
Yeah. So it's open to both parties. I really hope that other parties get involved in it, honestly, and see the value and being a part of it, and it doesn't become like this like war battleground type situation.
Yeah. Well, they're very welcoming of the GOP, and from the statements that they've made, it's just like you said, it's parents that goes far beyond any political line, as it should.
Yeah.
But the reality of it is will anyone in the GOP join in? I don't have a lot of hope, to be honest. I don't mean to be political, but I am.
I mean, they've shown their color, unfortunately, too many times.
Yeah. And it's caring for someone else, caring for your community is not really as big in their policy making as it might have been in the past. There's been a push more towards what will make us money, or what will make me politically, will give me a one-up politically. And that's a sad thing. It happens in all levels of government, all,
which is
all
also
parties. So
which is also really weird.
Which is
it's what's really weird to me too with the GOP is that like they have always been for, hey, like family first, like they, it seems like, they always were going, I remember when I was growing up, it seemed like it was all, trying to do the best for families and all this different stuff. And just that whole like conservative family lifestyle and everything. It's like, doesn't this fit into that? And where at what point did you hit the fork in the road and be like, nope, that's not it, and veered off to the other side? Like, I just don't know where that happened at all. And it's kind of mind blowing to me that it seems like there is such a gap in between the mindsets of both parties on it, when in all actuality, it was like, we were fighting for it for this long time. And then for whatever reason, like we had a Rip Van Winkle moment and now we forget. And then like all of a sudden it's like this other party's like, we're picking it up, but we're going to run with this. And it's like, you can come along. And we're like, I don't remember if I was supposed to do that or not. And you're like, oh my gosh. Like, so that's frustrating to like see.
Yeah, it's interesting what it means to be a Democrat or a Republican now as opposed to 10 years ago or 20 years ago or 50 years ago.
True.
The Southern Democrat for a long time, for my dad's generation especially, was just, that's, I wish we get some politicians to get behind us and do, and it was completely, not just like completely different, but the differences were huge. And again, I don't want to devolve into politics, so I want to get out of that if we can. But
Sure.
it really just talking about the caucus, and a caucus is just a meeting of the minds, really. It's people that have a belief that they want to get behind, right? So it could be, you could call it a club, you could call it a committee even. And it's just that we want to move this forward. And like you already read it for Representative Gomez's statement, that he wants to move the need to take care of parents and take care of children, take care of families forward in our country. Because we're one of the, or have always been usually one of the richest countries in the world. And we can't afford childcare.
Right.
The amount of money you have to pay for children these days is,
child
especially anything reputable. You're paying more than your mortgage.
Right. Well, and think about all the dads in our organization and all those dads who are not in the organization, who are stay-at-home dads. And the majority of them, if you ask them, hey, why are you a stay-at-home dad? It comes down to like, they just can't afford to put them in childcare, or like, there's nobody in my town or around me that I trust to like raise my kid kind of deal. And so like, I would rather just be the one that does that because, it works out for our family type of situation. So it is sad that, that's what pushes it, because in all actuality, like there are other countries who do a much better job at making it to where that is not the tipping point for that decision. So what was it here? It said like we're ranked like 35th out of 37 countries in economic cooperations and development for like high wages or something like that. Like we're sucking bad in the fashion of like looking out for our families, government wise. It seems like,
across the board. Healthcare, housing, why is housing a problem? Food. How do we have kids going to school that don't get enough food?
Right. Yeah.
They can't afford, or they have to, to get help for the financial help to get their kids school lunches, and school lunches are garbage. They're
not nutritional at all.
They're not. Yeah. It is the lowest bidder on that across the board. And, the only thing you're going to get that's with any standard is like the milk, because you can't, you have to you get the milk in the carton. That's
about it. Yeah.
And it's just, we don't take care of our citizens. We don't put our citizens before really our national is greed.
Would you say part of that is just the fact that like it immediately, when it comes to like, hey, we need to take care of people, and it's a simple like thing, it immediately gets thrown on this like, oh, like that's socialist, like, oh no, like that's gonna, like, I feel like there's like this fear of like, oh, it's gonna turn in this. I know we're trying to stay away from the political side of things, but it's like that was what popped in. I know it just keeps getting drawn back into it, but that's what it feels like to me. Like that's the immediate response to, we need to take care of this. Like this is a need, and then immediately is met with, well, that's going to turn into this, and it's going to be all like, we're going to go down that road, and like the America's going to turn into social. I'm like, come on.
The problem with the idea of socialism, and again, the idea that we have a lot when it comes to politics in America, and a lot of things that we run into, is honestly, in my opinion, there are oligarchs in control, with large corporations or just individuals that own so much of it that they can just say, I want to keep it this way.
Yeah.
And you have a small, tiny percent that handles almost all of the wealth in the country.
Yeah.
And the rest of us are just struggling to get out of poverty and being poor, and maybe even into middle class, which a lot of us think we're in middle class, but we're not yet. We're still actually considered poor. And it's a really eye-opening thing when you look at the financial levels of our country. And the problem is because of that, they develop xenophobia. anything that's not what I'm used to and what I like, anything that's foreign. Oh, the word foreign. Oh, wait, no, that's bad. We're talking people are going to steal my jobs, or people that live in countries who, whose insurance is so much worse than ours. Their healthcare is so much worse than ours.
Yeah.
And yet the reality of it is like Canada has amazing healthcare. And if you talk to anybody like in Canada about their healthcare, you'll know, I don't have any long wait. What do you mean? I just schedule an appointment and go to the doctor. Why would I? There's no, no, maybe a week or two, but they have a really good regulated, nationally paid for healthcare system. And we look at it as it must be garbage. It must be awful. We got it much better here. They've got it bad because the insurance companies told us so.
Right.
Because the insurance companies make all the money off of it. And socialism falls under that same umbrella because one, socialist, oh, you're a socialist. What's that? Well, what's Social Security? That's us getting a small amount of all of our money out of our wages and giving it to a fund that will take care of people when they retire, if they need help. Well, just if after they retire. That's a socialism project. That's why it's called Social Security, I believe. I don't know if it's exactly tied in, but the reality of it is people say, wait, what? Socialism is actually trying to overthrow capitalism and become communism. It's the medium state between the two. In Marxist theory, yes, absolutely. Marxism is socialism. Next is communism. Marxists are absolutely, in my opinion, they're the guys that want us to go to communism, and communism can't work. No more than, honestly, in my opinion, capitalism can work. We're at a point now we've proven that capitalism is kind of leaving the 1%. It's like the 0.1% now, and they still have way more money than all the rest of us combined. Right. And I'm not bashing anything more than I would say, because I want it to be better.
Yeah.
I know we can be better. I know we can provide for our citizens. We can provide food. We can provide health care. I mean, just imagine what the change would be if we all had free health care, right? If everybody just said, okay, well, you can go to the doctor whenever you want to. Granted, that first initial tremor would be an earthquake. I mean, it'd be, what would we go for? Oh, well, I'm getting all my stuff scheduled then. And the scheduling would be a nightmare, and it would be a huge issue, a lot of chaos, because it's such a huge change. But socialism, as it is as a philosophy, and I'm not a socialist, I'm definitely not a freaking Marxist. And I will never agree that communism is in any way a worthwhile or achievable goal by human beings. All right. But the idea of socialism is, well, let's pool our money and we all pay a little bit to get our school paid for, to get our library paid for, to get our fire department paid for, to get our police department paid for. And when you look at it that way and realize that socialism as an idea can very well help any society that's based as ours is so much on finance. Yeah. Because if we could get 1% of the top earners, or the top, people with the most financial value, if they give us 1% of that, or 1% a year of that, it would change our nation completely, and it's just a matter of a little bit more. Well, why don't we spread that out a little bit? Let's pay for our schools. Let's pay for our school lunches. If I had to pay an extra penny or an extra nickel, even I don't know about a nickel on every dollar, but an extra penny on every dollar, perhaps, just to make sure that all kids get breakfast at school and get lunch at school, I would do that hands down without a problem. Yep. Even if I didn't, I shouldn't say if I didn't have kids, I don't know. But even if my kids are all out of school, I will still stand by that, because it's just what you do, or what you should do, I think. Yeah. Anyway. Nope, you're okay. Breath. Sorry, I went off with a dry tribe there. No, you're okay. I just come over here. I'm going to grab your hand. We're just going to help you down from the box real quick there. It's all good. It's all right. It's okay. It's okay.
So back to the article real quick. Sure. We'll post a link for this article too, because it's really well written. I thought it was very interesting near the end of the article. It says that calls for the government to address issues of childcare reach back at least to World War II. I was like, what? Like, that far back, like that's pretty wild. And it makes sense too. I mean,
that long ago?
I know it's not that long ago. It feels like it's that long ago, but it
feel
really
like
isn't that long ago.
It wasn't in our lifetime.
I know.
World War
So,
II.
well, that's the thing. Like, for anybody who doesn't understand history, World War II was back in like 42 to 44. So, I mean, it's like 80 years ago, roughly. Not even, or no, six. What was that? Is it 8? Would it be
about
80
years?
Yeah, about 80 years ago. I've been watching the Pacific and Band of Brothers and all that stuff, which is all World War II.
Yeah.
So, like, I know those dates really well.
I think it was 44, 45 was the main where it finished.
That was where it finished. Yeah.
And so at that time, even Congress was being told, look, we need to do something about this. We need to take care. We have issues with childcare.
Yeah.
And we need to handle that. But as the article says, and I wholeheartedly agree, the patriarchy is a problem. We have a men that do not worry about taking care of children. That was that generation. The silent generation is famous for being the men were just like, no, I don't take care of the kid. What are you talking about? I've got people. I've got a wife for that. And that mentality means that the people making the laws in our country were saying, well, we don't have to worry about that. Because I'm not worried about that. That doesn't affect me. I don't see it affecting anybody really. And women are handling it. It gives them something to do.
I feel like
literally what was said. It gives them something to do. Like you need to keep your wife entertained. And I'm going to just punch my mic right now.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
Yeah. But now that we have, it's gone past to, okay, women can work outside the home. Yay. Yes, of course they can. That's great. And now they've moved out of that role that standard generals just don't apply anymore.
Yeah.
So you have men that are doing the bulk of the child care, and they have a job too. They bring their kid with them. And now that it's men getting affected by it, and this is my opinion, it's suddenly, oh, well, this is an issue we need to change. And again, women have been dealing with this for 80 years at least that we know of. And now, oh, well, men are doing it, and maybe this will change because we're at a pivotal moment in history for that change to happen.
Right. And even that falls into that patriarchal side of thing. It's like, oh, because it's a problem now because, dads are in this situation.
Men have to deal with it.
Now it's an issue kind of deal. And it's like, oh gosh, like, and you feel bad because it's like, no, like it, unfortunately, like there's this big spotlight that just gets put on it because,
if cancer made your penis fall off, it would be cured in a year. Guaranteed. If
it feel like hit people that would refuse to take that shot.
Just people that would be like, oh, you get cancer. Yeah, it doesn't matter if you get over it, chemotherapy, but your penis will fall off. That's just it. As soon as you get cancer, it's going to start and then it'll drop off and disappear and you'll just have a little hole. I don't know what you would have, but you won't have a penis anymore. I guarantee we would solve cancer. Because it comes down to, and I don't want to harp on this, but I'm really in a harping kind of mood. The reality of the patriarchy being what it is for so very long and just not allowing anyone else to speak. Yeah. No one had a place at the table. And if it was you and me making all the laws and we had no real understanding of anything beyond us, no real compassion or community, we would just make rules for what we wanted. It's like asking children to do it.
Right.
What do you want? I think we should have ice cream for dinner every night. I don't want ice cream for dinner every night. It'll make my teeth fall out or something. I'll get diabetes. I don't want, and they're like, I won't.
All right.
And that's it. It's like, well, it won't affect me. Why do I care if it'll affect you? But now that we have more representation, and that's so very important, the inclusion and the diversity of our society, especially in government, and it's still nowhere near where it needs to be. But now that we have more people that are showing, oh, hey, I understand that that's not a problem for you. And I'm going to just say it, white man. But it is a problem for women, or it is a problem for people of color. It is a problem for people with disabilities, or whatever it might be. Understanding that need for that inclusive mindset is something that politicians just aren't famous for doing. So the caucus, I think, we'll get back to it. The caucus is a great idea, and caucuses form and dissipate like nothing. So it's not the expectation this is going to be some huge law, changing thing, but it could be.
But it's definitely a
The-
conversation starter that hopefully will
Yes.
enact some good policies
Yes, I hope.
and definitely help out
Mhm.
all the families for sure. Okay, so now we're going to take that can of worms and we're going to put it in this Tupperware bowl and we're going to seal it.
So you guys can reach us on Anchor. You can also reach out to us at our email address, which is, what are we, podcast at homedad.org?
Podcast. Yeah, podcast at homedad.org. Yep.
You go right ahead and I will answer that for you. You can call me an idiot and that's fine.
we might actually receive some mail.
I might
It's
get
not
some
probably-
mail.
Yeah, we might get some mail.
I might get a mail bomb in my house.
Oh
yeah.
gosh.
It's okay. I
Yikes.
hate my mailbox. You guys can take it out. I hate it. I wish I could get another one.
Oh
So
shoot.
it's fine. But anyway, so the caucus is a great idea. And really, if nothing else, it spotlights the fact that more and more of our society is moving towards the non-standard gender roles, and that a dad can care for a child just as well as a mom.
Yeah,
So that's the positive of it all.
definitely. Yeah, just
And then we can move on.
for sure.
What do you want to talk about now, man? You got nothing left. I'm out.
No,
Blech.
I got something. I got something. So
Let's
we're
go.
gonna, We're gonna turn the page. So kind of fun little TV thing. So back in the day, there was that 70s show talking
Mhm.
about families. So that 70s show, you had Red Foreman, who was from that era as a kid, from like the silent, like his dad definitely would have been from that era, but then like you could see him coming out of it. He's like former, like, was it Vietnam vet, I think is what it is, something along those lines. And so he's at home, you've got Kitty, who is working as a nurse, and they've got their kids, and during that 70s show you get to see kind of how they parent and do all that kind of stuff. And I loved that 70s show. It was a great series, and it went off the air, and now all of a sudden it's back on Netflix with that 90s show. And
Yeah.
it's so interesting to me. Like, there are lots of plot holes, I will tell you that. Probably one of the biggest ones for some people is the fact that there's absolutely no mention so far of Kelso's daughter that he had with the librarian. That's probably one of the bigger ones that I hear people talking about.
Mhm.
But the fact of the matter being is that, one, there's representation in there of the LGBTQ in the 90s, which I always felt like there was, like, every group had at least one sort of like closet queer friend, that everybody kind of
Mhm.
knew. They hadn't really brought it all the way out, and they were trying to figure out how to do that. And I feel like they addressed that really well in the show.
Yeah.
But also, too, on top of that, you have now Red is basically retired,
Mhm.
and you've got Kitty, who is considering going back to work because it's the 90s and it's not a big deal at this point, to really, like, for her to go get another job, not, that kind of thing. And then on top of it too, like, they're grandparents, and
Mhm.
you see them just basically rubbing all of the things that their kids made fun of them as parents. Now they're the parents, and they're just like, welcome to the tops, like, welcome to the upstairs table, like all
Yeah.
that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I just, it's very, I love it. It's very cool that they decided to bring this show back out, because it speaks directly to the parents now who would have watched that 70s show, and to see it from the other side and just continue to laugh about it, especially those who grew up in the 90s. Like,
Mhm.
the ages of these kids in the show are the ages that are like pretty much almost the age that I was. Like, they're a little bit older than me, but at the same, like, it's like, because they're what, 15, I think, for the most part.
Mhm.
So there would have been about, actually, no, I take it back. It's set in 1995, so it would be the same age,
95,
actually.
okay.
Yeah, it's set in 95. So they're the same age as me, but it's just really cool to, like, see all the nostalgia in
Mhm.
it. Probably one of the funniest things is when they go into, like, a video store,
Mhm.
and
Wow.
it's so great. You got all the VHS up on the wall, and you pause and you look to see what's all there, and some of the things that are in there actually don't match up with the year, which you got people on, like, Instagram and stuff pointing that out, which are really funny.
Nice.
But then on top of it too, you have the room with the curtain that's for adults only.
Oh wow. Nice.
Kitty actually goes in there because she sees somebody, and I don't want to ruin it for everybody because you really got to watch it. It's hilarious. But she goes walking out. She's like, "Oh no, that's not what I thought that room was."
Yes. You said adult. That's not what I meant.
But no, I think it's great to see, like, they've kind of become like the
Mhm.
family that people can really recognize with, it, like, you see all of the different mannerisms of Eric acting like Red, that kind of stuff, and
Mhm.
the mother-in-law daughter-in-law relationship,
And
and
we watched the one Marnie was watching it. I only got a little bit of it, but where they went to the mall and Red took the kids to the mall and he's like, "Yeah, you go do whatever you want to do. I'm going to just sit down right here with my newspaper." And he sits down in one of the massage chairs and the guy comes out and he's like, "Hey, you liking that chair?" And Red's
sharper
like,
image.
yeah, it is. Yeah. Sharper
It's
image.
sharper image.
And Red is like, "Go away, man. I don't want to talk to you. I just want to read my paper." And he goes, "Okay, but I'm not going to go away. We're going to keep talking because if you have a credit card, I could get you this." And he's like, "No, I don't want it. I don't want it." And he goes, "Okay." And then he turns the chair on and Red goes, "Oh."
And he just hands it to him.
And hands him his credit card, like, "Yeah, get this delivered to me." And then Kitty comes home, there's some emergency going on, and I don't, again, no spoilers. And Red's just sitting in the chair.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Red, this is going on. You got to handle this." And he's like, "No, it's fine. Kitty, I love you. You were so pretty. I've always thought you were so pretty. And I just don't think I say that enough." And he's just so, he sounds like he's high to me, but he's just so relaxed for like the first time. And then they are like, "Well, we need somebody that's going to go in and bust some heads and take care of some stuff." And Kitty's like, "Okay." And unplugs the chair, and old Red is back immediately.
Yeah.
He goes, "What are you doing? Unplugging the chair?" And she's like, "There he is. There he is. That's what we need." Yeah.
Yeah.
One of his most famous lines for me, and it's not necessarily true, but he said, "Yelling is the only part about being a father that I enjoy."
Oh yes, that is definitely one of his
it's
lines.
so perfectly him.
Yeah. That
yes,
between I'll put a boot in your ass, like that's the other one.
Yeah, and just calling you a dumbass, and it just, and you really feel it too. You just him of that era, but a lot of times just being a dad, especially once you've gotten a little bit older and your kids are young and doing stupid stuff in their teenage years in high school, and you're like, "Oh, look at them. They're all dumbasses." You just do it, when your kids, you'll get there. When your kids get up into high school, you'll be like, "Oh, wow, Danny was right again, man. I got to stop disbelieving that guy."
But you know what?
Listen.
But you know what else too is really neat to see? And I thought this was also very, just like a great insight, is the fact that here you have an older couple who have a house to themselves, and you can see that like they still are attracted to each other sexually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And like they really do like shine a light on that and show that in such a very tasteful way. But at the same time, it's like, it's so good to know that, like, because I think a lot of times people go, "Well, what is getting older look like?" That kind of thing. And we've talked about it before on the show about how it's important to continue dating your spouse and keeping the flame lit kind of deal or whatever. And so I just thought that was just really cool that they bring that in different aspects of the show. And it's just, I don't know, it's just, to me, like, I'm like, okay, like I know my parents, like, and just their marriage and how they are and things like that, and it's just like I see that and I'm like, all right, like I love that they're showing this because this is exactly what I grew up in. And I know that's not for every family, but it's so great to see that, and hopefully it encourages others who are like, what is it going to be like to grow old together? And it's like, it can be really exciting, like, honestly, like it can be fun.
You don't change. I mean, you do change, of course, but you are still you. And your partner's still your partner.
Right.
And it's all the same. It's just your body doesn't respond as fast and it doesn't recover as quickly afterwards. That's,
exactly.
With any physical activity, you just,
whatever it is.
Maybe you need to stretch this time. Maybe you need to remember to stretch, warm up. Don't stretch a cold muscle and then, get ready. It all applies, right?
Right. It does. But anyway, I bring all that up just to basically say, like, it's a fun show. And if you can get around all of the like things that you would hope it would be in some ways, and kind of can like throw a blind eye to some of the bigger plot holes kind of deal. It's
Just
actually
enjoy it.
yeah, it is a very enjoyable show. So I just wanted to bring that up because it fits into just like family, and it shows like two different eras of family life. And yeah, so
And that change from being a dad to a granddad,
gosh.
I just can't imagine. I cannot wait. I am going to wreck my grandchildren. Their sleeping habits, their eating. I don't care. I gave them hot chocolate and ice cream, and then I'm sending them home. You're welcome.
Now I will say
I'm
I have definitely used that to the advantage of getting to enjoy fun things with my kids, because my parents are very much like, they only have 4 grandchildren. So it's like lot less than what I grew up around. And so they tend to do a really good job of spending time with them and things like that. And it was so funny because like Hezekiah turns 10 here on Valentine's Day, and my mom was like, "What do you want for your birthday?" And he starts naming off different things. And you know how kids are, like they kind of think of the very first things at the front of their head, and they don't think really about anything that maybe they talked about previously. But one of the things that him and his sister love to do, and I enjoy doing, playing this with them as well, is we like to play the Nintendo Wii. And it's got a lot of fun games. And also, too, they like playing the Super Nintendo because it's got Mario and stuff on it. And I mentioned to Hezekiah, I'm like, hey, there's a Super Mario game for the Wii that you can play 4 players at once on. And he was like, no way. He's like, you and Mama and Ruby and I can all play together. And we're like, yeah. And he's like, Grandma, that's what I want for my birthday. So
done, easy.
Yeah, I was like, sold. There you go. But it had to come from him, that was the key.
Yeah.
But yeah, just stuff like that. So I enjoy that portion of it. I don't know that I don't know what it's gonna. I can't even fathom what it would be like to be a grandparent at all. And I don't want to. I'm trying to stay in the moment of the fact that I have little kids right now. So whereas you have older kids that are getting in the age where they're about to step out of the house.
I've always been ready or looking forward to them becoming people and being out on their own and seeing what they become and what their families become.
Yeah.
It's like you talk about planting seeds or the old proverb of shooting an arrow, and all the things that you do to try to get your kid to be a good person.
Yeah.
And I really want to see what they'll be like, because I feel like they're going to do amazing things. They're going to go out into the world and they're going to get knocked down. They're going to get their heart broken. They're going to get hurt, but they're also going to just see this beautiful, amazing world that we have. And they're going to make it better in some way, even if it's just a small way.
Right.
And that's what I want. And then they come home and tell dad about it.
Right. Well, I mean, yeah, it's like, I look at it as almost like pottery in a way, like like we're forming them throughout these years and trying to get them to a place to where we're basically going to put them into the fire, and which is the world, and just let that kind of finish the molding on them and get to see how they come out on the other side. And the crazy part about it is like, for the most part, you're just sitting there watching that process take place, unless for some reason they actually come back and start communicating with you about it or whatever. And I think that sometimes that's really like one of the harder things. I look back on what my parents watched me go through. And I've already spent my time apologizing for just the way that I was. And but at the same time too, you go through hard things to come out stronger and to be able to get through harder things later on in life. So that's the evolution of parenthood. And I hope that like being in this organization has been just an amazing like resource for the fashion of like, when you go through some of that stuff, that you have guys like you to reach out to, guys like Sergio to reach out to, guys in the dad lounge to reach out to, or just the random people in the closed group who you're just like, I just have this question, which I feel like I see coming up more and more, which is so great, where it's like, I just need a crowdsource answer for this. And so that, I don't know, like that is a resource that has really taken off. And I feel like a lot of older dads sometimes look back on it. And I think my dad too, even when I talk to him, like there's a bit of jealousy in the fashion of like, I would have definitely benefited from that type of thing. Like my dad said that before. And so it's so great to hear that from the older generation too, that it's like, awesome. I'm glad that, you see that and that there's value in it.
Awesome.
Well, this has been a fun conversation.
I hope so. I apologize for
you're
going
good,
off.
Hey, you know what? I don't think there is any other way to not go down that rabbit hole a little bit. So, but like you said, people have conversations or comments or whatever. Like we are more than open to field those. Send us a message, podcast @homedad.org, or you can send us a message in any of the comments or whatever. On the socials and all that good jazz. But I think we're gonna call it a show, and we'll talk to you all next week. So have a good one.
Good night, everybody.
I'm a dad, that's what I do.